Hello and welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. It is Thursday, September 5th. Lots of news out there. What does DEI and the Kamala Harris campaign have in common? They're both fading. All right, and let's hope it remains that way. That's going to be the major topic today on our podcast. But I've got all sorts of news that I want to bring to you first. But again, I think there's more and more evidence that Kamala Harris is fading, that the bloom is off the rose. Is that what they say, Gabe? Is that what the old wise men like yourself say? The bloom is off the rose. I think people are starting to understand who Kamala Harris is. However, I still don't believe that we should take her lightly. I don't believe she's a bright lady, but she's got the Democratic machine behind her. They will do whatever it takes to win, including what we're seeing today. You guys may have heard the news. And by the way, we got some new news on the shooting that occurred in Georgia at Appalachee High School. Apparently, the latest breaking news is apparently the father has been arrested. The mother of the young man was literally a basket case, in and out of prison, in and out of jail for decades, apparently. So there's a reason behind the madness. His mother was in a drugs, crime, you name it, recently arrested even this year. So there's a lot of backstory. FBI visited this young man and his father last year, conducted some sort of interview. So we'll share that information with you as well. But it is absolutely insane. But let me go to this. And as a matter of fact, I want to show you evidence piece. I think this is number one. This will be 3B, Gabe. This is Merrick Garland, saying that Russia is trying to discourage U.S. Funding for Ukraine. Carl, what does this have to do with DEI? What does this have to do with the Kamala Harris campaign? Guys, I'm telling you that, listen, and I'm sure this isn't the first place that you're hearing it, but if you've listened to any type of talk radio, if you're watching the national polls, Trump is doing better at this point in time in 2024 than he was in 2020, than he was in 2016. Now, I do realize that we're living in different times. I do realize that after the COVID, lockdowns and the way that the Democrats were able to use the COVID lockdowns in order to favor themselves in elections, it made it a lot tougher to beat them. However, I think red states, for the most part, our elections are much better than they were. Georgia being one that has reformed their laws. Many states have reformed their laws. So if we can listen, there's always going to be some type of cheating, but here's what you need to understand. If you show up and if we show up in large numbers, we can win. So you have to keep that in mind. But what we're starting to see, Kamala Harris is getting nervous. One of the issues, one of the reasons why I can tell is, let me take you to this story. I'm going to kind of do a Jackson's 5, but I'm going to intertwine them into the story. So here's the deal. Where is it? Actually, I may have this printed out. Right now, we were actually supposed to have a guest. I'm just being real with you. But someone, I won't say any names, Tony, did not confirm the guest. So I threw a show together for you. But the good news is there's a lot of good news out there. And so we're gonna go through this together. So I want to make sure that I give you the right information here, because I do have in my formally fingerprinted fingertips this. This, according to the Daily Wire, ABC News releases rules for Trump-Harris debate. Team Kamala claims she's disadvantaged by the format. But here's the deal. Kamala Harris has agreed to the format. She's agreed that there's not going to be any need, basically, for to change the rules of the debate. They're going to stick with the original rules that Trump agreed to with Biden, as well they should. I don't feel like Kamala Harris deserves any types of favors whatsoever. She did not win a single primary vote, so they should stick with those rules. I'm trying to find the headline. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the headline, but basically the bottom line is that Kamala Harris has agreed. Here it is. Harris agrees to muted mics in ABC News debate against Trump. Now, most people believe that what Kamala Harris was going to do is what she did in 2020 in the debate with Mike Pence. Excuse me, I'm talking. I mean, that's what they believe she was going to do. And I do think she was going to do some of that. But I think she was just going to try to trip Trump up to the best of her ability, get underneath Trump's skin, lie, and try to get him to react to her. And apparently, listen, it's going to be a very difficult. It's going to be harder for Kamala Harris in the debate, but guys, she's going to be up to par. I believe. I don't think she's going to be great by any stretch of the imagination. But what I don't want to do is say that she's going to be so horrible in the debate that, she does okay. And then we're like, oh, not so bad. I'm hoping this chick tanks. So I want Trump to take her seriously. I think we should take her seriously. And here's the way, I'll just say this real quick. Here's the way that I think Trump should handle it, in my opinion. And Gabe, tell me what you think about this. But I believe that what Trump should do is literally be like, okay, here's the deal. When they ask him a question, if they try to, because it's, what is it, ABC? So it's going to be 3-on-1 again. All right. So when they ask Trump a question, I think he should try to make sure that he focuses and direct the question to if they try to, attack him, hopefully they'll be fair. Honestly, I got to give Dana Bash credit. Last time in that debate, they were fair. What was it? Dana Bash and Jake Tapper, I believe. But they were fair, being liberals. They just asked the question. They let Biden fall. I almost think they were a part of that too, honestly. But I think they're going to try to save Kamala Harris. So Trump needs to answer the question and get out the way and say, this is what I did. This is what I would do regarding that particular topic. But I'm curious what Kamala would do in that topic. I would literally cede some of my time to her. That would throw her off, and that will cause her to go into a word salad spin. I honestly believe that. But here, the part of the reason why that the bloom is off the rose for the Kamala Harris campaign is because she is agreeing to the terms of the debate. There was news just as recently as a couple of days ago that she might pull out of the debate. Or a report. I don't know how accurate it was, but that was percolating out there. Now, Hat Tip Daily Wire, ABC News released the rules on Wednesday that both Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump and Democrat presidential nominee Kamala Harris have agreed to ahead of next week's debate. So ABC News said that Tuesday's debate, moderated by World News Tonight anchor David Muir and Prime anchor Lindsey Davis, will implement the rules originally agreed upon in May when Trump was going to face President Joe Biden. Here's the rules. No opening statements. Closing statements will be 2 minutes per candidate. I don't like that part. I think there should be an opening. Statement. And the reason why I think the reason why Biden would have wanted that is because his team probably thought he would need to wind up, get his blood flowing, circulating through his veins. But I would prefer an opening statement, but that's fine. Candidates will stand behind podiums for the duration of the debate. Prompts or pre-written notes are not allowed on stage. Note, so you can bet your bottom dollar. Listen, I don't think she's a bright person, but she is trained in law. So there are some skills and techniques that come along with that. So you can bet she's going to be trained up on that. But that's why I think Trump has to throw her off and get her to answer questions and not just go on the attack. No topics or questions will be shared in advance with campaigns or candidates. Let's hope that's true. All right. Candidates will be given a pen, a pad of paper, and a bottle of water. Candidates will have 2-minute answers to questions, 2-minute rebuttals, and 1 extra minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Okay. This is where I think Trump can really trip Kamala Harris up. I really do believe that. All right. Give her 2 minutes to explain a position. Don't let her get you, don't let her hook you into any type of unnecessary debate. Let her explain her position. Candidates' microphones will be live only for the candidate whose turn it is to speak and muted when the time belongs to another candidate. Candidates will not be permitted to ask questions of each other. Great. That one. Okay. You know what? That's fine. So instead of asking her the question, I would pose the question to David Muir and to Lindsey Davis so that the audience hears it, and perhaps it puts pressure on the moderators. Here's what I did. Here's what the Biden-Harris ticket did to destroy this policy, to destroy this nation. David, Lindsey, I wonder what her answer will be. You know what I'm saying? Throw the onus back on the moderator. So that's how you handle that. Campaign staff may not interact with candidates during commercial breaks. Moderators will seek to enforce timing agreements and ensure a civilized discussion. There will be no audience in the room. Personally, I prefer no audience in the room. I know I'm old. I'm probably old school with this. Some of you guys may not like that. I prefer the audience in the room. But the very fact that Kamala Harris is willing to debate tells me this. It tells me that this high, this high that their campaign got, with all the media attention, with all the media buzz, it's wearing off. So Kamala Harris knows that she has to take the debate. And the word is, we all knew this. Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania was her best choice. All right. Now, let me show you this real quick. Pull that hood. All right. So let me go to Real Clear Politics. Trump Harris tied in Pennsylvania. If you're going by the Real Clear Politics average, 47.2 to 47.2. That does not bode well for Kamala Harris. Now, they're both below that 50% mark too, right? So there's some wiggle room. Wiggle room. That means people are going to be breaking. I suspect that they will end up breaking for Trump. It was a huge mistake on her part. And we said this the day it happened. It was a huge mistake on her part, in my opinion, to pick Tim Walz. Especially, I mean, first off, who knew the guy? You know what I mean? And then when you started to get to know the guy and found out that he was one of the main culprits of the COVID lockdowns and treating his citizens so badly, like, man, this is just crazy. I mean, this is a guy that let Minneapolis burn while he's the governor of Minnesota, let a police station just let the rioters, the BLM rioters, Antifa rioters just take it over. Like, why would you do that? But see, Kamala Harris was so quick. She wanted somebody that would be subservient, in my opinion. Josh Shapiro, really smart. He's a lefty. Let's be real about this. But he was the best pick for her because he's a popular governor in the state of Pennsylvania. But she wanted somebody that was going to be wimpy, somebody that was going to bow down to her. And we can see that Tim Walz is kind of a lapdog for her. He's got his own issues. We don't need to go over those tonight, but we'll save that for another day. But you guys know him. It's been reported everywhere. The guy is just a habitual liar, so much so that even his family members are coming out. And I know it is always nasty when you see family members. That nobody likes to see that. But more and more of his family members are coming out with Trump Vance tickets and all this. But it was just a bad pick. It was a bad pick. And I think I recall Trump that day saying, woo, we're kind of relieved. You know, I'm paraphrasing, that she picked this guy, Walz, that has been a disaster. This guy that is guilty of stolen valor. This guy that has lied about everything, including being a coach. He was an assistant coach until he was fired. And I forget why he was fired. So he had to quit being an assistant coach. But anyway, just absolutely insane. So Kamala Harris agrees to this debate. Sure sign that her campaign is not doing well. She's also going out and she's campaigning in states that she shouldn't be worried about. New Hampshire. I mean, Bernie Sanders territory. Come on, man. Come on. All right. So that isn't to say, right, that she's going to lose, but that's to say that things are growing very uncomfortable. All right. Now, let me go back to this. I told you I would play this for you. This is another reason, this new Russiagate. Before we get to that, though, I want to remind you that today's show is brought to you in part by Priority Gold. Economists are warning that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA or your 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. In times like this, Proverbs 21:20 reminds us to preserve what we built. Right now, that wisdom points us towards gold. If you haven't had your eye on gold, it's time to make it a priority. My name is Carl Jackson, and I am urging you to call my friends at Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. You can call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit PriorityGold.com/golden for a free gold info guide. Plus, see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Again, call 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist or visit PriorityGold.com/golden to learn more. Again, that number, 1-800-405-GOLD. All right, Gabe, so we're going to go to 3B. This is Merrick Garland talking about Russia trying to discourage U.S. funding for Ukraine. I'll give you a little bit of the backdrop of this story. There are some conservative influencers that are involved in this. But guys, and listen, I understand exactly what the left is trying to do. I don't believe that it's going to fly. And thank God these guys have platforms where I think they can voice their opinions. But make no mistake about it, this DOJ is dirty. And this DOJ, make no mistake about this as well, they're currently working for Kamala Harris. Gabe, let's roll video 3B, por favor. This is Merrick Garland.
Since the 2020 election, we have seen an unprecedented spike in threats against the public servants who do administer our elections. Election officials, workers, and volunteers in communities across the country have been targeted with heinous acts and threats of violence. The following are a few examples of successful enforcement actions that the Justice Department has taken over the past year. In New Mexico, county commissioners and other elected officials were targeted with a series of shootings that the department has alleged in court papers were organized by an unsuccessful candidate for the state legislature who claimed that the election had been, quote, rigged against him. At least 3 of the shootings occurred while the intended victims or their children or their family members were at home. In February, 2 shooters who we alleged were recruited by the candidate pled guilty to carrying out the attacks. In March, the candidate himself was charged in a
I know it's hard
13-count
hearing this guy's voice.
indictment.
Just bear with me.
In Arizona, a man sent a state election official a bomb threat warning that if she did not resign within 2 days, quote, the explosive device impacted in her personal space would be detonated. In March, the man was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for making that threat. In Maricopa County, Arizona, an elections official, a county attorney, and their families were threatened by a defendant who called for, quote, a mass shooting of poll workers and election officials in precincts he believed had, quote, suspect results. His revolting comments included, quote, dead children burn into the memories of people. The county attorney who had been targeted later reported that he, his wife, and 4 children had been assigned round-the-clock protection and issued body armor in response to the threat. And the elections official who was targeted said in a victim impact statement that, quote, while I am the person directly threatened by this case, the impact of such threats is felt by a much larger community, the thousands of committed election workers who operate our democratic processes. When threats are made against any election worker, the impact reverberates throughout the entire community. That defendant was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. In recent months, our enforcement actions have continued. In July, we secured the guilty plea of an Alabama man who repeatedly threatened to kill Maricopa County election workers and officials. In one particularly chilling message, he said, quote, you better not come in my church, my business, or send your kids to my school. You are stupid if you think you are safe. His sentencing is scheduled for next month.
Okay, so that was not the audio that I expected, so forgive me for that. But basically, he went on, Merrick Garland did, to talk about Russia election interference. And the Russia election interference is basically a few conservative influencers, podcasters, if you will. I hate the term influencers, the more and more I think about it. But podcasters were given a bunch of money to run some ads, and they did not know that it was coming it was from Russia, basically, or Russia Today. I'll read you the synopsis of that. Basically, but that tells me that they're scared. The DOJ, which has no credibility, the DOJ that's responsible for suppressing, or the FBI, with the help of the FBI, suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story, the DOJ, all these guys that were involved in Crossfire Hurricane to try to destroy Trump's presidency. I mean, this is absolutely insane. The DOJ, FBI working with Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call it, to suppress the speech of citizens on Facebook and on Twitter, then Twitter, and the like. So these people have absolutely no credibility whatsoever. So you want to talk about election interference? Let's talk about them. But here's what Vladimir Putin had to say before I go to this story real quick. And again, to me, this is evidence that Kamala Harris's campaign is starting to fade. And that's what they're concerned about. So what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to get the independents to say, oh, I hate Trump even more. Or what they're going to do is try to set up Trump's presidency where it's a bunch of chaos. I've heard people say, and I'm not sure about this. I haven't thought this through, to be honest, but I've heard some conservative commentators say, and I don't think it's necessarily way off. I just need to think it through a little bit, that what they'll try to do is, before Trump gets into office, just not allow him to take office, so these people would, I don't know what they do, what they would do, but it's obvious that these people play for keeps. These people are willing to play dirty. Gabe, let's play video clip. This is Vladimir Putin in cut 2B saying that saying his favorite was Biden, but now since he dropped out, he says we support Harris. She has such an expressive and pictorial laugh that it that it shows that everything is great for her. Now, let me say this from the onset: this guy is a thug. This guy is a dictator. I could care less if somebody pops a cap in his behind. He's a propagandist. He wants to sow chaos and discord inside of the United States. He wants divisiveness. I totally get that. But I got to be honest with you too. Let's be real. He didn't attack Ukraine when Trump was in office. He did it when Biden was in office. He also did it. Biden and Harris were in office. He also did it when Obama was in office. He also did it at the end of George W. Bush's presidency. But I give George W. Bush a little more kudos. I shouldn't say kudos. Even though I'm disappointed as I look back, 2020 hindsight on the Bush presidency, I think he took advantage of Bush when there were so many weak-kneed Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly just bashing Bush, and he made a dumb mistake by trying to be a gentleman and not going after him. And then Vladimir Putin saw that weakness. He saw that Democrats had taken control, I believe, of the House and Senate at that time. I could be wrong, but if I recall correctly, and then he took Georgia. He went after Georgia back then in Europe. So anyway, if I recall correctly, hopefully I'm not wrong. I'm going to have to go and check my history. So forgive me. I'll correct it if I am wrong on that. But let's play Vladimir Putin cut 2B. Por favor, Gabe.
Ну, я уже говорил, у нас, значит, фаворитом, если можно так сказать, был действующий президент, господин Байден. И вот его сняли с гонки, но он рекомендовал всем своим, значит, сторонникам поддержать госпожу Харрис. Ну вот и мы тоже так сделаем, будем ее поддерживать. Это, во-первых. А во-вторых...
Раз завещали, значит, надо, да?
Вот. А во-вторых, она так выразительно и заразительно смеется, что это говорит о том, что у нее все хорошо. А если у нее все хорошо, то значит, вот Трамп, он же ввел столько количества всяких ограничений и санкций в отношении России, сколько для него ни один президент раньше не вводил. А если у госпожи Харрис все хорошо, то, может быть, она воздержится от таких действий подобного рода.
Или сменит их.
В конечном итоге выбор за американским народом, и мы с уважением будем относиться к этому выбору.
Okay. Wow. All right. So listen, we know this guy's a propagandist. We know this guy's a stone cold murderer. Have absolutely no respect for him whatsoever. But I believe that's truth. Why wouldn't he support Biden? The guy camped out on the border of Ukraine for months on end. Now, you guys may remember this. It back in the day, people were talking about Trump and how Trump was for Russia. Remember, it was Trump that ordered the kill of 200 of their mercenaries, Russia. And then Vladimir Putin was like, oh, my goodness, this guy means business. It was Trump that gave Ukraine, if I recall, tank busters, basically. I don't forget what you call them exactly, to take out Russian tanks. if need be. It was Barack Obama that gave Ukraine blankets and meals ready to eat. All right. So Trump meant business. He didn't want to start any war, but he's like, dude, if you mess with me, if you mess with America, you mess with me, you messing with America, and I'm going to show you that I'm not playing. And Vladimir Putin took him seriously. He doesn't have to take Joe Biden seriously. Look at how Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are acting when it comes to Hamas. Hamas literally executed, including a dual citizen of America, Hirsch Poling Goldberg, one of the six Israeli hostages that were murdered in cold blood when the IDF were hot on their trails in some of those tunnels. And then Biden comes out and basically says that Netanyahu isn't doing enough for a ceasefire. How do you to negotiate for a ceasefire? How do you negotiate with terrorists that don't believe in that stuff? I mean, these people are just absolute morons. But I think that Vladimir Putin is telling the truth there. Okay, let me move on. I've been staying on that for a little too long there. Didn't intend to do that. Let me bring you this news. Hunter Biden has also changed his plea. So Hunter Biden pleads guilty. And I got to be honest with you. Hunter Biden pleads guilty to all tax crimes. I think this is a smart move on Hunter Biden's part. I know it's very difficult to hear that. It's hard for me to say. But honestly, if you've ever been or dealt with the criminal system, it's a smart move, particularly when you're dealing with the Democrat Party and they're straight up gangsters. The Bidens are gangsters too, so they know what it's like. But convicted felon Hunter Biden had tipped Daily Wire. Son of Joe Biden obviously pled guilty to 9 additional federal charges in L.A. on Thursday related to tax crimes that he committed. The stunning reversal from Hunter Biden, who initially had pled not guilty, came as jury selection for the trial was supposed to start today, but was upended after Hunter Biden's legal team submitted an Alford plea in federal court. Now, what is an Alford plea? An Alford plea allows him to acknowledge the strength of the case against him, accept whatever penalties he is sentenced to, but give him the ability to maintain his innocence. All right. So Hunter Biden reportedly decided he wanted to avoid taking the case to trial because he refused to subject his family to another round of anguish and humiliation after a gut-wrenching gun trial in Delaware 3 months ago. Prosecutors had dozens of witnesses lined up to testify during the trial who expected to deliver, close quote. Were expected to deliver, quote, embarrassing and salacious testimony, close quote, against the president's son. This, according to the Washington Post. The indictment against Hunter. Yeah. The indictment against Hunter Biden stated that he blew his money on drugs, escorts, girlfriends, luxury hotels. Guys, that's not what it is about. You may have just heard Gabe chime in, and he's absolutely right. Hunter Biden, this is a smart move because, for one, you don't have to expose your dad and all of the corruption that the Biden crime family was involved in. That's one. And you just take the deal because you know your father is the president of the United States and he's going to pardon you. Well, Joe Biden said he's not going to pardon you. Joe Biden said he didn't have dementia. Okay. All right. So I think it's, I hate to admit it, but it's a smart move on their part. That's just something that they're going to do. All right, guys, before I go on, and I'm going to talk about some DEI and offer you a little more evidence that the Kamala Harris campaign is falling off the rails. This does not mean, now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say landslide and all this kind of stuff, but they're just not having the results with her. And but I mean, this chick, I don't even know how many days it's been now. I've lost count that she refuses to talk to the media. She refuses to give a legitimate interview. That interview that she gave wasn't a legitimate interview. Supposedly, she sat for like 40 minutes, but they only gave us 16 minutes and something seconds, 29 seconds, I think it was. And I don't think that 16 minutes and 29 seconds was great by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's just absolutely insane to me what's going on with her. I'm trying to find the latest on this shooting because that shooting in Georgia, and I got to be honest with you. Listen, I'm probably going to offend some people saying this. That kid, listen, the fact that a 13-year-old kid could plot a murder like that tells me that something serious was going on in his life. That kid did not have God in his life. The latest is that his father has been, I'm trying to find it. The latest is that his father has been arrested as well. So let me see if I can find this. I don't know why it's not fresh here. Yeah, I don't know why that story is not popping up. Um, I'll check a couple other sites here. I'm sorry, this is me working live, even though this will be taped. Even though this will be taped for you, but anyway, let me again. That was a smart move on the. That was a smart move on Hunter Biden's part. You basically make sure that your dad is in the clear and all this kind of stuff. And also, let me do this. Actually, let me wrap up this story with these influencers. All right, so basically, so here's the synopsis. Now that we know the reason why you see not necessarily Vladimir Putin, but you see Merrick Garland come out, because it's all hands on deck. It tells me that they're scared as crap, right? That the left is scared that Kamala Harris is going to lose the race. So now it's all hands on deck. But the DOJ unsealed this indictment on Wednesday, alleging that two Russian nationals working for Vladimir Putin's government will funnel millions of dollars into a media company run by anti-Trump conservative influencer Lauren Chen. An indictment unsealed in Southern District of New York. This, according to CBS News, charged Kostian, I can't even pronounce it, Kalishnikov and Elena, whatever, both based in Moscow, with conspiracy to launder money and conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act. According to CBS News, the two defendants worked for the Russian state-controlled outlet RT, which is Russia Today, or formerly known as Russia Today, before it was disbanded in the United States following the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The article goes on. Why is it not going down? The article goes on. Had to Breitbart. Federal prosecutors, and I'm quoting, said RT oversaw a series of covert projects that included funneling $10 million through a series of shell entities to a Tennessee-based company launched in 2023 that publishes videos on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and X, formerly known as on X. All right. The indictment charged that the videos published by the company contained, quote, commentary on events and issues in the United States, such as immigration, inflation, and other topics related to domestic and foreign policy. This is a bunch of crap. You know what? It's as if Americans can't listen. I understand that some of these quote unquote influencers took money from this company. They did not know that this was a Russian entity. And you're talking about a few people that are involved. It's Russia interference is not, unless they can get into our voting systems or whatever, they're not going to have any impact on the election. As a matter of fact, in 2020, they literally had no impact. In 2016, I think it was several like Facebook sites and all this guy. It was just insane. You know, it's like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton making up, that Benghazi scandal when they were talking about a video where literally like only a few people had seen this video, and they were blaming that video for the outburst that occurred, the violence that occurred against our ambassador murdered, and other people that were murdered during that Benghazi era, when literally only 7 people had saw the video. This is what the left does. Says, while the views expressed in the videos are not uniform, the subject matter and content of the videos are often consistent with the government of Russia's interest in amplifying U.S. domestic divisions in order to weaken U.S. operations to core government of Russia interests, such as its ongoing war in Ukraine. There's a lot of conservative influencers that are just against the war in Ukraine. They're against these so-called forever wars. I take a different tack. Listen, I'm like, if it benefits America and we have to go to war, I don't want to go to war. But if we do go, if we have to send our men and women, it should be quick and it should be decisive. We shouldn't linger, and it should be. I think Congress should take a vote so that everybody has a stake in the matter. The indictment does not name the company, only noting that it bills itself as a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues. Reporters identify the company as Tenet Media. It says on its site, Tenet Media is a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues. Our goal is to support creators who question institutions that believe themselves to be above questioning. In our view, all issues du jour merit rigorous and honest discussion if one wants to come closest to the truth. For those interested in the authentic coverage of the topics that matter most, Tenet Media is your home for content. Fearless voices live here. All right. So the company allegedly had business arrangements of varying depths and duration with Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, Dave Rubin, and Lauren Southern. Most of those listed have voiced pro-Trump opinions, though Chan herself had turned on the former president. She's the one that hooked them up, apparently. The indictment clarified that at least two talents, Tim Pool being one, were deceived by Tenet Media's two founders, Lauren Chen and her husband, Liam Donovan, per CBS News. With the Tennessee Secretary of State's office show that Tenet Media Incorporated on January 19th, or whatever, mentioned in the indictment, and is headquartered in Nashville. It was founded by Liam Donovan and his wife, Lauren Chen. The founders are referred to as Founder 1 and Founder 2 in the indictment. All right, so Tenet reportedly never disclosed that it had been funded and directed by Russia Today. Okay, case closed. So these people were acting as foreign agents. They were taking money from Russia Today. The people that they mentioned were not. Tim Pool described himself as a quote unquote victim in a statement on social media, charging that he had full editorial control of his show and at no point issued any talking points at Russia's behest. And this is what I mean. This is so silly because Americans are free to say, you know what? Hey, I support. They could say I support Putin. They could say I support Zelensky. This is nonsensical. This, too, tells me that Kamala Harris is absolutely desperate for a win. She's not doing good. She's not a great candidate. Everybody knew she was a great candidate. She's been a horrible vice president of the United States, and everybody knows it. I mean, just a couple of months ago, people were talking about how horrible she was, and they wanted her to drop from the ticket or Biden to drop her from the ticket. All right, so now let me close the gap on this DEI thing here. But before I do, I just want to remind you that today's show is brought to you in part by MyPillow. You've asked and MyPillow listen. They're finally bringing you the most requested offer ever. So right now, you can get the queen size premium MyPillow for just $19.98. MyPillow is made with a patented adjustable feel. It adjusts to your exact individual needs, regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long, so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. You can get their 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets for just $25. The brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98, and their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. Go to mypillow.com or call 1-800 or I'm sorry, call 800-858-0263. You can use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. I don't spell it like the commie, to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow that's just $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay. Order today. Use promo code Carl at checkout. And don't forget our friends at Priority Gold as well. Economists are warning that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and your 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. In times like this, Proverbs 21:20 reminds us to preserve what we built. Right now, that wisdom points us towards gold. If you haven't had your eye on gold, it's time to make it a priority. My name is Carl Jackson, and I'm urging you to call my friends at Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. Again, call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit prioritygold.com/golden for a free gold info guide. Plus, see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Again, call 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist or visit prioritygold.com/golden to learn more. That's 1-800-405-GOLD. Okay, so let me share this story with you real quick, per favor. Couple of things that you should know. August private payrolls rose by 99,000. That's the smallest gain since 2021 and far below estimates, according to ADP. Companies hired just 99,000 workers last month. That's less than the downwardly revised 111,000 in July and below the consensus forecast for 140,000. So we're starting to see that the market isn't, or the economy isn't what Kamala Harris has claimed. Bidenomics is not working. That's why she's trying to distance herself from Biden without distancing herself from Biden. It's the weirdest thing ever. All right. The report corroborates multiple data points recently that show, by the way, this is MSN.com, show hiring has slowed considerably from its blistering pace following the COVID outbreak in early 2020. And again, the hiring after COVID was simply people returning to work. That's what Biden and Harris try to take credit for. The ADP data also showed that while hiring has slowed considerably, only a few sectors reported actual job losses. So, all right, so that news isn't good for Kamala Harris. Now, here's this news. Here's why Kamala Harris, I can tell, is going down just like DEI, or DEI is fading. And I got to tell you this. So goes Kamala Harris's campaign. So goes DEI. More companies are waking up to this, realizing this stuff is a piece of crap. As more people are like, you know what? I don't want to buy from companies that deal with this. So Coors is the latest one. Molson Coors. I didn't realize Coors was woke, but they were. I guess a lot of these companies are, and probably pressured by our own federal government. So Molson Coors plans to cut supplier diversity quotas and DEI-based training programs and sever ties with the Corporate Equality Index of the LGBTQ and advocacy group Human Rights Campaign. I almost feel like they should be boycotted just because I didn't know. I hate this. I absolutely hate this. But nonetheless, all right, I guess this is good news. I just didn't know. The Brewers' decision comes after a wave of retailers over the summer took a step back in their DEI efforts. It's becoming okay to say no to DEI. Guys, I listen. Everybody knows that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire. Is it becoming okay to say no to Kamala Harris? Are people over the DEI stuff? I certainly am. I know Republican conservative voters are, but corporations, what's going on with the corporations? I think this gives people permission as they realize that the LGBTQ barbecue community are not their largest purchasers, but everyday Americans that just don't want to be bothered with all this woke crap, this social, this cultural Marxism. That we're the buyers. We're the ones that spend the money. Now, I don't drink beer, but obviously a lot of conservatives do. All right. And I know a lot of Democrats do as well. All right. But you know who's the LGBTQ community are not making up, since they're just, a very small percentage of the population. And it's not a knock. It's just a fact. Are not spending the type of money that your average, everyday working American heterosexual male is spending. All right. On this type of stuff, on beer and all that kind of stuff. So these companies are waking up. But if these companies are doing it, and they're saying, whoa, this is really hurting our bottom line, then you have to believe that in the society and in the culture, people are saying, I'm done with this DEI crap. Kamala Harris and the mainstream media believed and still believe, and listen, now it's not election day yet. We still have to get out there and make our voices heard, make our votes count. You know what I'm saying? But I really think more people are like, I'm done with this. I'm not going to hire a president that was a DEI hire when it came to the vice presidency. And certainly I'm not going to do it for the presidency. I don't think this bodes well for Kamala Harris. I think they're intertwined. Says here, corporate DEI practices saw a major increase in 2020. That was after the George Floyd riots, but have been struggling in the aftermath, particularly after the Supreme Court's decision to overturn affirmative action in colleges. All right, so they've been struggling. Now they got to get people that can actually do the job based upon merit. Molson Coors is the latest addition to that growing list of companies reversing that their DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. An internal memo sent Wednesday and obtained by CNBC. Molson Coors executives said the company will be getting rid of supplier diversity quotas, adding that they can be, quote, complicated and influence factors outside of the company's control, close quote. So in other words, we get pressured to hire people we shouldn't. But the brewer has said it will continue to make sure its suppliers are representative of the company's diverse consumer base. Weren't they already? Quote, we are ensuring our executive incentives are tied to business performance and do not include aspirational representation goals beginning next year. Molson Coors also said it is developing, quote, the next evolution, close quote, of its company trainings, which will focus on key business objectives instead of its previously DEI-based training that programs that the company said all current U.S. employees have already participated in. Isn't that smart? Get rid of DEI and just train your employees on how to be good employees and do a good job. Sounds like a novel idea to me. But, then again, that's just me. I want to make sure that first exclusive interview with Tenant. Oh, I want you to hear this. This is Kamala Harris agrees. Guys, this is 7B, Gabe. I'm not going to use as much video as I thought. This will be 7B, but I want to play this. I didn't know this was out there, but it is. And this is Kamala Harris agrees that there should be separate laws for Black people. We saw that with the BLM riots. Remember, she was working with that group. I forget what it's called, to bail out rioters as the vice president. Oh, I'm sorry. While she was running for vice president. That was 2020. Forgive me. This is Kamala Harris. 7B, por favor, Gabe.
And we're talking about specifically something that happens to Black people here in America. So we have to be specifically targeting to help those people. Because we put those people in a position, and everybody knows the history.
Yeah.
Everybody understands the history of America.
That's right.
America, you
That's
did
right.
this to these people. You should write laws for these people. Don't group us in with everybody, because everybody didn't happen to everybody. But let's be fair. We playing from behind the eight ball. We way back there, 400 years back there. We're not asking y'all to give us nothing. We actually write the law. Those of us who are willing and able to do the work, will do the work.
That's right.
That's what we need.
That's right.
That's so dumb. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy. That's so dumb. Guys, there are a set of rules that work for everyone. They're called the 10 Commandments. They're written on our hearts. We know what's right and wrong because our conscience tells us, because God has already written his laws on our heart. Even if you don't believe in God, you instinctively know that lying is wrong. You know that murder is wrong. You know that rape is wrong. You know that cheating with someone's spouse. You know what I'm saying? You know that that's wrong. You already know it. And our laws are based on the 10 Commandments because they work. You don't have separate laws for this color person or that color person. That's just subjective truth. That's why some blacks can go in some blue cities or, California, and they have this Prop 47. They know the vast majority of people are going to be young minorities, oftentimes young Black men that are out there breaking those laws. And so the rules shouldn't apply to them. That's reparations. That guy was never a slave. Kamala Harris comes from a lineage of slave owners, but I don't think she should pay reparations. This is just stupid. It's nonsense. Okay, just real quick, and we'll shut this off. FBI tipped off about the suspect in that Georgia shooting in 2023. So that was the news. They had apparently been tipped off by some stuff that he was writing on social media. They visited both he and his dad. So the teen suspected of gunning down 4 people at a Georgia high school has been on the FBI's radar since last year. He was investigated by local authorities in connection to online school shooting threats. According to the Bureau, in May 2023, the FBI received several anonymous tips about threats to carry out the violence at an unidentified school with the harrowing posts, including photos of guns, according to a Wednesday night statement from the Bureau's Atlanta field office. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office identified the young man, then 13, as a possible suspect and interviewed both he and his father. Gray's dad told investigators at the time he had hunting guns in the house, but his son didn't have unsupervised access to those guns. This, according to the statement. So there was no probable cause to take any further action, but local schools were alerted for continued monitoring of Gray. How do you monitor him at that point? Like, maybe you just kick him out of school or whatever class he's in. They should have, you know what I'm saying? He's being charged as an adult, by the way. The officers should be, in my opinion, or his teachers should be armed. Georgia Bureau of Investigation Director Chris Hosey confirmed that the authorities are probing any possible links between 2023 threats and Wednesday's shooting at Appalachee High School. Quote, "This is not recent. This is in the past. But we, pop-up, wanted to bring that to your attention because we are pursuing that, working with the FBI on this and any connection to that incident that could be connected to today's incident as well." Oh, man. I tell you what, the FBI does not have a great rep. Here's some of the victims. Appalachee High School Shooting victim Richard Aspinwall was a math teacher. Oh man, looks like a young good dude. And then you have Appalachie High School shooting victim Christina. I believe that's Irami, was a math teacher as well. What was up with what do you have against? Oh man. And then another shooting victim, Christian and Angelo, 14. And then another student, oh man, Mason Shimmerhorn was also 14. He was a student that was shot and killed. I can't imagine what the families are going through right now, especially when your child is murdered in cold blood, just 14 years old, and they're gone. And I feel horrible for the families of the teachers as well. This is, man, just unbelievably sad. It appears, I'll wait to hear more, that the FBI has dropped the ball. Again, the latest news, but I don't have any update for some reason. But the latest news is that the father has now been arrested as well. So, guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, subscribe, or not again, but please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble, por favor. Also, please follow me on all things social media at the Carl Jackson Show: X, Instagram, Facebook, True Social, and Getter. All right, guys, until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.